Welcome to Autauga Football Review with Coach Bobby Carr. Coach, we played Edgewood this past week. Had a big crowd, high-scoring game. Offense played really well. Just talk about that just for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday night, nobody else was playing in town, so we figured we'd have a big crowd. Plus, we hadn't played Edgewood in the last 3 years, so I think it was a game everybody wanted to see. But I think our kids came out and took care of business. The thing we tried to emphasize was control the hype and represent the school the right way, and I think both teams did that. And again, I have a lot of respect for the coaches and coaching staff over at Edgewood and the things that they're trying to do and rebuild that program since we all left, and they're headed in the right direction. So hats off to them on a good year. But like I told our guys, this is just the next game, and I'm glad we went out and executed on all cylinders offense. We played our starters for most of the first quarter, and then got to play everybody else, and our non-starters played the last 3 quarters and got them some good reps. So yeah, it was a good night for everybody.
Awesome. Going into the defense, gave up -10 yards total offense to Edgewood, and a lot of that was with our backups in our 2s and our 3s. Just talk about how they've been playing, and then talk about how the backups on the defensive side of the ball kind of stepped up and just answered the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, like I said all year, I even said it after the game the other night, our defense don't get the credit they deserve. Coach Story does a tremendous job with those guys, and you do a great job with them as well, and having a good game plan every Friday night. But again, we've got a lot of backups that would be starters at most other schools, and so again, it's not, it's just about the next guy up, and so when our backups get in the ball game, they're usually fired up and they want to prove that they belong on that field too. So it was, like I said, it was good the last few weeks. It's been good to see them get a lot of reps.
Awesome. Last thing we'll talk about this game before we kind of move on is another region championship. I know we don't really preach region championships around here. We kind of preach state championships, and we have higher goals, but it's our 3rd region championship in 3 years since you've been here. Just kind of talk about what that means, to the kids, to us as a school, and to the program.
Yeah, well, it says our football program's, obviously going the right direction. 3rd year in a row to win the region. I think it's really good for the school because we get to host home playoff games throughout the playoffs. So that's always good for the athletic budget,
Absolutely.
Especially when, I'm the athletic director as well. So that's definitely a good thing. But, yeah, means a lot.
Going into the offense, we have Offensive Player of the Week. That's Trey Cutler. Coach, there's not very often you see a 268-pound running back. Yeah. Also plays a little bit of quarterback for us. Talk about Trey, just kind of how he's been progressing throughout the year, and then how he played this past week against Edgewood.
Yeah, well, he also starts on our defensive line and rotates in a running back and rushed for over 100 yards on 6 or 7 carries. But he's an incredible talent. You don't see the athleticism in a 270-pound player like him. But a lot of people they're usually in awe when I tell them he runs a 4.7 40. So good thing is for all of us is he's just a junior, and we're looking for bigger and better things from him in the future.
Awesome. Let's take a look at Trey Cutler, Offensive Player of the Week. Welcome to the Autauga Football Review, Offensive Player of the Week with Trey Cutler. How you doing, Trey?
Good, Coach.
Trey, you played Edgewood this past week. You had 107 yards rushing, 1 TD, even played a little bit of quarterback. Just tell us your thoughts about the game this past week.
The game, it went good. Like, as I touched the ball, the offensive line, they picked up their assignments. And once I saw the hole, Coach been preaching to me all season, hit the hole hard. So I finally started doing it, and everything just started coming together.
Good, awesome. Going into the last game of the regular season this coming up week, how has the season been going for you, for the team? Just kind of talk about just how the season has been these past 9 games.
The season's been going great. The first start of the season, we started out a little rough, especially against North Florida Christian. We had to find each other, like how each other play and all that stuff. And the last game of the season, Glenwood, they got some pretty decent players. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game.
Awesome. Trey, this is your first year here at Autauga. Just talk about a little bit about how you like being here compared to the other school you went to, just the atmosphere, the team, the chemistry. Just talk a little bit about that.
Man, for real, when I came over here, everybody took me in as a family. Like, I ain't know nobody. And everybody just started talking to me. It's like a whole lot different from Autaugaville because we only had, I'm coming from a 12-player team to like a 45-player team, and like I actually get breaks. and everybody just come together and play as one, not individual.
Awesome. Last question here, Trey. Give us your best impression of Coach Carr.
Get some sleep at night. Stop texting Falia and Sally Mae.
That is Trey Cutler, our Offensive Player of the Week. Welcome back. That was Trey Cutler, our Offensive Player of the Week. Now let's go into the defensive side of the ball, Coach. Dalton Ham was our Defensive Player of the Week, led the team in tackles, and not very usual, a backup defensive end kind of leads our team in tackles, but with the backups kind of playing the majority of the game, it was bound to happen. Talk about Dalton, just kind of how he's progressed at defensive end for us this year.
Yeah, Dalton's picking up the game of football at a rapid pace. Like you said, I was just talking about our backups, and then here's Dalton as our backup defensive end leading our team in tackles. So that tells you we've got a lot of guys that can play, and they may not all be starters, and Dalton's just an example of that. But really, really works hard in the weight room. Strong kid. I think if you asked him, he regrets not playing football in the future, maybe not coming to Autauga earlier than what he did. So he's been a pleasant surprise for us. Glad he's here at Autauga.
Awesome. Let's take a look at Dalton Ham, Defensive Player of the Week. Welcome to the Autauga Football Review Defensive Player of the Week. This is Dalton Ham. How you doing, Dalton?
Good. How you doing, Coach?
Dalton, we played Edgewood this past week. Just tell us how the game went. You led us in tackles this week on defense. Just talk about the game a little bit.
I mean, we prepared whole week for it, so I felt pretty good going into the game. I went out there and handled business, did what we needed to do.
Didn't know if you were going to get a lot of playing time. You kind of been working with the second team defense. The offense scored a lot of points. You got in there pretty early. You ended up leading us in tackles. Just talk about playing defensive end, kind of what it takes, and hadn't really played before. This is your first year here at Autauga. Just talk about how that transition's kind of been taking place.
I mean, it's a learning process. Just I got to pay attention to what I do and try to get around them, I guess.
Awesome. Talk about coming from Prattville, coming to Autauga again, being your first time ever playing football. How was the transition coming from Prattville to here and then never playing football?
It was a big change. I've never done anything like it before, so I'm still getting used to it.
Awesome. How do you like being at Autauga? How do you like playing for Autauga? What was it like coming into a football team you didn't really know, and then them kind of taking you in, and then knowing you've been 9 games into the season? How's it been for these first 9 games?
It's been great. It's like a family here. Nice atmosphere. Way better.
Awesome. What do you think about Glenwood? We got Glenwood coming up. It's senior night. You were a senior. Last regular season game here at Autauga Academy playing football. Just talk about the emotions going into this week, knowing it's your last regular season game for us and being a senior and kind of finishing off the season right.
I guess it really hasn't hit me yet that this will be like one of our last games, coming up. I don't know. I mean, I heard they got some good players, so hopefully it'll be a good game. Last
question. Give us your best impression of Coach Carr.
Hey, son. What are you doing?
That's Dalton Ham, Defensive Player of the Week. Welcome back. That was Dalton Ham, our Defensive Player of the Week. Coach, let's go into Glenwood. Last regular season game, senior night. We have 21 seniors on the team. Your boy's one of them. Just talk about Glenwood and just kind of what's kind of coming up for this week.
Yeah, I mean, Glenwood's a very talented team on both sides of the ball. They're well coached. I've got a lot of respect for their guys. Their athletic director and I are really good friends. I'm friends with a lot of their coaches on their staff. Their headmaster was my former headmaster at one time at Edgewood, Frankie Mitchum. Got a lot of respect for him. He's been a great mentor to me over the years. So we're looking forward to a good night. I know they'll bring a good crowd. And we'll probably have another big crowd being senior night. And we've got 20 seniors to recognize. And, so maybe a little emotional, especially for the head coach. That Tripp's finally a senior. So, again, but it'll be an exciting night for all of us.
Last question here, Coach. How is this game going to kind of propel us to go into the playoffs? Normally the last game is kind of the one that you just kind of play and not really going to help us. But this week actually could help us a little bit, focusing more on the playoffs in the next couple of weeks. So, what do you think about this game going into the playoffs?
Yeah, you could look at it two ways. Some people are maybe worried about playing a tough opponent. I know they probably feel the same way about us, but I think it can help us. I mean, you always worry about injuries, but injuries could happen. That's just part of the game. But I think it could really help us get better for other ball games down the road because I know they got a lot of talent and we've got a lot of respect for them, like I said. So it's we're excited about the challenge this Friday.
Awesome. A couple announcements. It is senior night, so it's going to kind of get kicked off a little bit earlier. Senior night will start around 6:30. Of course, the game will start at 7 on Friday night. Also, we have the gun raffle still going on. November 9th is when that's going to happen. So please, if you want to get a ticket, please come see one of our players or one of our coaches. We can get you a ticket. Coach, game Friday night. Let's get the victory.
Sounds good.
This has been the Autauga Football Review with Coach Bobby Carr.